Welcome to the Biz and Tech Podcast. My name is Blake Dowling. I am your host. I am also the CEO of Aegis Biz Tech, a journalist for FloridaPolitics.com, as well as the Tallahassee Democrat. Coming up in Tallahassee, we've got the Word of South Festival. Looking forward to seeing all the writers and musicians converge in April. Come out and see the Violent Femmes with the Tallahassee Symphony Orchestra. And me, I will be opening up for the Charlie Mars Band. That's going to be awesome. I've always wanted to be an opening act, and we get the opening slot of the opening slot around noon. So we will see you there. Today, as our guest on the show, we have Reenee Williams-Walter, who is the Rapid Response Coordinator for CareerSource Capital Region. Welcome to the show.
Woo-hoo. How are you, Blake? Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Glad you made it. Great to see you.
So glad to be here. You were doing a phenomenal job in the community, so it's definitely an honor just to be able to be on the show with you.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So let's dive right in. Tell us about your job right now. Tell us about your career. What are you up to? And we'll take it from there.
So I am the Rapid Response Coordinator for CareerSource Capital Region. And for those of you who do not know, CareerSource Capital Region, we help recruit, retain, and train local talent. And specifically for my department, Rapid Response, I help employers develop proactive strategies to prevent and minimize employee layoffs and business closures. And if you do have a business closure, you do have to lay off, come see me. Our goal is to make sure that we get those employees back gainfully, rapidly employed, as well as giving them any resources in the community that they may need, whether it's food and cash assistance, unemployment assistance, and really mental health assistance.
That's awesome. And I see you out in the community all the time. You're one of those individuals that seems to be at every event all the time, always out, always with a smile on your face.
Thank you.
High energy, from the Independence Landing grand opening, which we were just talking about before the show, to our ribbon cutting at Aegis Biz Tech. Tell us about your extracurricular activities in the community and what drives you to do those kinds of things.
So I'm very fortunate working at CareerSource Capital Region to be able to have the leeway to flexibility, create my own schedule, which I love, and be able to be out in the community. So ultimately, my goal is to go out, let people know what we do, meet people, find out what resources you may need, you did not know that you need, dot the I's, cross the T's, and then connect you to those resources. I have a great pleasure and love being able to be a Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce ambassador. I've been doing that now for about 3 years, and it just provides an outlet just to meet amazing people, people that you didn't know were in our community, businesses that you were unaware of. Even the podcast studio here, Level Up, doing the ribbon cutting, had no clue that we've got Emmys and Grammy winner producers right here in our town. So being able to be a chamber ambassador, a part of the other boards that I'm on, really allows me the opportunity to connect with our community.
Yeah, the chamber's cool like that, whether it's Leadership Tallahassee or
Access
ambassadors
Tallahassee.
or Access,
Yep.
seeing part of the community that you didn't know existed. I
Yep.
mean, that's really such a huge part of it for me. So awesome. Thanks
And
for sharing that.
people always say there's nothing to do in Tallahassee. And there is plenty to do in Tallahassee, guys. There is literally something to do every day, all around the corner. It's just a matter of asking and thinking outside of your box. So there's more to do in life besides clubbing, right? So maybe I can go to Word of South Festival. Maybe I can go to the jazz festivals. Maybe I can go to just a full cinema day that they do at FSU. There's so many things. If you can just think outside the box and be willing to explore, from nature trails or bike trails, you'll find something to do here. A little bit for everybody, too.
Sometimes you just got to get off the couch.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Off the couch, off of the devices, and then out in the world.
You're not kidding. So, P.L.U.G. We see that on social media for those of us that are proud to call you a friend. What does that mean?
Yeah, and I have to do better with this of making sure I put Reenee, the P.L.U.G, afterwards. But the P.L.U.G stands for Partner Leverage for Ultimate Growth, P.L.U.G. And I came up with this maybe about a year ago when I was selected to do the Greater Tallahassee Chamber of Commerce Professional Women's Forum. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I got to tell my story. Like, what do? I know that I plug people into their resources. I know that I connect people. Connecting is something everybody uses. What's different? So I thought about the P.L.U.G, and I made sure to put the periods. Thank you, Jim McShane, my CEO, because you see P.L.U.G and it might have a bad connotation, but with the dots, you know it's an acronym. You know it means something. So Partner Leverage from Ultimate Growth. And at the end of the day, we can all help each other, right? Mm-hmm. And we can all leverage each other. It doesn't have to be crabs in the barrel. It doesn't have to be, I'm doing this, so you can't do it too. It's about whatever you need, I can put you in contact with that person. And whether I know them or don't know them, I know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that can get you that resource that you need. And so partner leveraging is all about just that. Communicating, we might not talk every day, but I know, Blake, if I call you 2 months from now and need a question or have a question or need a resource, you'd be able to give that to me. And that's what partner leveraging is about. We don't have to talk every day. We don't have to be buddy-buddy every day, but I know I can rely on certain people to be able to connect me to those resources, and I can do the same.
Well, that is super cool and very unique. You
Thank you.
created a brand for yourself in our community.
Thank you.
Nice job. So walk us through a day in the life. You say you get to schedule your own calendar, that sort of thing. What are you doing on a 7 to 7 basis each day?
Yeah, of course, every day waking up, doing my daily text for sure, because that gets my good juices flowing. Like I'm just making a spiritual connection to where I'm going to have a positive day. Saying my affirmations in the mirror as I'm brushing my teeth. I saw something, a podcast previously. They say if you brush your teeth with your opposite hand, so I'm right-handed, I'll do it with my left hand, and then you say positive things in the mirror while you're doing it. It helps to trigger your brain so you have more positive thoughts throughout the day versus dwelling in the negative. And if you do get a negative, your neurons trigger a little bit faster to go back to the positive. So those are like the first few things that I would do after my daily text. And then map out my day. Like I'm all about my tasks, to-do lists. I feel good checking off things. I have the pleasure of, I know it seems like I'm always everywhere, but I really am strategic with the things that I go to and the people that I support. So I always want to make sure that people who are supporting me, I'm going to support. And then people who don't always get the attention that they want, I want to support. So I strive to go to 2 to 3 events a week, have meetings. Our CareerSource Capital Region, we cover Gadsden, Leon, Jefferson, McCullough County. So I strive to make sure I'm frequenting our other counties, not just Leon. That's a big goal of mine for 2025, making sure I'm including the other counties, not just Leon. And then I think between meetings and the traditional virtual meetings and really just finding out what people need. I want career seekers, I want employers to be able to call me, and I place them in contact with who they need. And coming over here, a career seeker called me from Hillsborough, and I'm like, I personally can't help you, but let me put you in contact with someone in your area that can help out with you. So that's what I'm all about.
Huge. Love the toothbrushing thing. I'll have to get that.
You have to try
thought.
it. I want to see you do that one day and see how it works.
Versus my current regimen of staring down the cat in the morning, just like drinking coffee, feeding him, and then going
about your day.
I try to do some push-ups to get the brain flowing.
See, that's what I have to get more back into, doing the working out in the morning. I know like a lot of the great leaders, they always talk about working out in the morning and doing the most important part of your things first in the morning. So I'm already up, so I just need to like incorporate that in my life. So you can hold me accountable next time you see me. Did you?
Push-ups was a new thing. I was just like, I need a little physical boost to get the brain going.
Yeah.
It might be something with my aging. I'm like, I'm not 20, 30, 40 anymore. Got to try something new. And it's great. 20 push-ups, and I'm like, let's
You're
go.
awake. Okay, that's
and
a
all
good
of a
thing.
sudden, my to-do list starts coming to mind. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for sharing.
So proudest moment in your life, proudest accomplishment. If you had to pick one, what do you think that would be?
So this one was a tough one for me. A couple of them were a little tough, right? Because I'm not really like that's on the superlative, like this is the best, this is the most. I think about every stage of my life has had a proud moment, or it's had a moment that significantly impacted me in a certain way. So from the plane crash, of course, that was a proud moment, being able to see with my FSU sweater on, coming out the plane with water up to here to my chest. And the last picture on my phone that I take is of me in my FSU sweater, the old logo. And I'm on the ferry after being rescued from the plane crash. I think about being baptized as a Jehovah's Witness 2 years ago. I think about my marriage. That's a proud moment to be able to say I'm a wife, right? And what does that look like? I think about, thank you. I think about...
and back up, I don't think I know about the plane crash.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
you were in a plane crash?
I was.
You kind of slid it in like you were just walking down the road, and I was in the plane crash.
This is one of those things, like I said, I'm a private person, but I do share, and I love to let people know about the story. But Flight 1549 that landed in the Hudson River, Captain Sully, I was on that plane.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. I don't talk about it a lot, and people bring it up, I talk about it, but I'm very blessed. And that day, being rescued on the ferry, and like I vividly see the picture. I got to go back through that old phone and see the picture, because it's the most beautiful thing when you see literally my FSU sweatshirt. I had stopped school because of the music industry. I had made it from the back of the plane all the way to the front part of the plane. And then I walked out, and literally the water's up to my chest. And the last picture, selfie. I got to take my selfie. I took the last picture on my phone was a selfie out in the middle of the Hudson River, the plane behind me on the ferry being rescued. My phone died after that, but it was amazing just to see water. The logo's here. it's amazing to see water to the logo. That's how much water I was in, striving to get out the plane. And I'm just very thankful. That day was like, I know I have a calling on my life. I know that I have a purpose. If I never thought, my family would tell me this, if I never thought I had a purpose in life, that day was like, you have a purpose. Because I wasn't supposed to be on the plane originally. The plane before that, we wanted to stay a little bit later in New York. I was there for the music industry, helping another client. And during the process of us trying to go to the front desk to like switch planes, our plane was boarding, and she's like, oh, it's too late to get on your plane now. We'll put you on this plane. We have to split up your group. And then the person, my client who was with me, he's like, I can't split her up. Like, my client paid for her to come. Like, I have to be with her, like, in case anything happens. We get on the plane. She's like, 2 seats just opened up. You can get on this next plane. You can stay in New York an extra 2 hours or so. It's snowing a little bit. And that is the plane, flight 1549. So it wasn't supposed to be on the plane. The seat that I was sitting in, was right at the wing. That was even the crazier part. Like, literally, I'm 24. You can see the wing in the wing with the engine catching on fire right from my window. So we smell the smoke. We see the flames. And at the time, I'm closest to the exit door, to the back of the plane. So run to the back. And this is where my spirituality comes in, because it was all just Jehovah God. Everyone's pushing out the door. We have a group of us like pushing. The men are at the front trying to open that back door. We found out later that had that back door open, the whole plane would have sunk right then. So the door would not open. And I don't know how we were positioned that it wouldn't, but it did not open. So from that point, it was fight or flight. Every man, woman for themselves. After that door didn't open, and never forget this, I saw a girl with purple hair that was sitting next to me. She was jumping over seats like a rabbit. And I was like, okay, I am following her. So we went from the back of the door. I went from the back of the door to the first exit I saw, which would now be the wing. However, by the time I got to the wing, it was full. So I get there. They're like, there's no room. You can't go. Keep going. And at that point, I share this always kind of like discreetly, but at that point, I just heard a voice that said, if you make it out of this plane, you'll be okay. And I just hiked up my jeans, and I'm literally climbing over the seats of the plane. So my foot's going where your armrest would be. I'm hurtling over the side of the plane, going to the front of it. I think myself, an older lady who went out on the left side of the wing, Captain Sully and the stewardess were like the last ones out of the plane. So as I'm exiting, as the last passenger, Captain Sully's like, is there anybody else? Are you okay? And he's like moving me towards the raft, and then he goes and does a sweep behind us. But
So he was still doing a sweep when everybody was off?
I remember, like, literally when I got to the door, the sunshine was shining on my face, because I'll remember, if you make it out of this plane, you'll be okay. So I made it to that front door. The sunshine was just like, oh, thank you. And then he was right there, and then he helped me get in the raft, and then went to the back to make sure everything else was clear. And I'm just so thankful for the day. And like I said, I have a story for life. We'll talk more about it another time. But yeah, definitely.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's a hell of a story.
Yeah, and there's so much to it, but I always try to get those key moments of like, had this door opened, everybody wouldn't have been under. A different ending could have easily happened, and that's the crazy part about it. But we're very thankful.
So I cut you off with the proudest moment, and interrupted to tell
that was perfect.
But where were you going with the proudest moment?
I think the only other things for my proudest moments are things that happened recently. And I really, the past couple of years, have been such a blessing. And seeing how the community is recognizing some of the things that I'm doing, because I usually play the back end, and I want others to be out front, forefront, right? So getting things from the She's Women recognition, getting things from the Chamber Ambassador of the Year, getting things from...
Congratulations, that's huge.
Yeah, that was huge. That was such a surprise. Speaking at the Professional Women's Forum, that was a goal. No one ever knew about that. And so when I got the call to present, I was just like floored, because this was something I'd been speaking into existence for a while, and it happened. KCCI, Leadership Tallahassee, the position that I have now with my rapid response, just everything is significant at that time in my life. And I know there's more to come. So I can never say this is the most significant, because tomorrow, or even with this is a significant moment for me. Being able to be here on your podcast and talk to, your community about what I do and who I am, that is a significant moment. So thank you.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. So music business, we've got some commonality there. You were a publicist. Mm-hmm. What artists did you work for? What was some highlights? People always ask me like, oh, what was it like in the music business? I'm like, a lot of waiting around, a lot of breaks and sound checks and flights and drives, and a lot of pauses between the awesome moments, but there were awesome moments, whether it was in Los Angeles or Nashville or New York
Nice.
or in Atlanta where our office was. What was the experience like for you?
So as a publicist, I also did PR and event coordinating as well. So a lot of my times I would be working the BET Hip Hop Awards or the BET Soul Train Awards as a red carpet assistant and the on-site publicist for the artists when they come. So when you see these red carpet events and people are doing interviews, their PR people aren't always on site, or they just might come with their entourage. So they can come to me, or their publicist, they can't make it, they'll call me. I'll be on site to escort them through the interviews. We'll do if they're performing that night, we'll make sure they have the green room and get them situated in their trailer and bring them back to the stage. And then from the aspect of people I've worked with, everyone from Rick Ross, Erykah Badu, Rick Ross, Erykah Badu, Paul Wall. These are more like the hip hop artists people here. T-Pain, B.O.B. Really everyone in that like mid 2000s range that were growing up were people that I at some point have worked with, and
awesome.
it's interesting to see like where they are in their career. And I used to have moments where I'd be like, man, if I would have stuck with this, I'd be there too. But I realized that my life.
Oh, I've had some of those.
You
thoughts
thought about
too.
it, right? Yeah, but you realize your life has a different trajectory, and that was, as much as I wanted it, that was not the will of Jehovah God for me. That was not his will for me at the time. It served its purpose, and I had to be okay with letting it go so I could go on to the next journey, which I'm doing now, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, it's crazy. The artists I used to bump into, like John Mayer, used to always come by our office in
nice.
Atlanta.
Okay. Was he while he was starting? You were cutting.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
My neighbor in the Capricorn Records building made his CDs at the time when CDs were still
Yep.
the most popular medium.
Had to go your
And now
mixtape
he's
on
in
it.
the Grateful Dead. I mean, who would have seen that coming? And Creed, we used to run around with those
love
guys,
them.
and now they're doing another arena tour, and they're back.
Reunion?
What's that?
Reunion tour.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be
Huge one.
nice. That's
they call it
gonna be
the
huge.
Summer of '99
Yeah,
tour,
that's
so
gonna be
they're on the
huge.
nostalgia train. Sister Hazel's still doing great things.
Yeah.
They just played a show with Rick Springfield for their charity Lyrics for Life a couple nights ago in Gainesville. And then tons of country artists
Nice.
That we used to run into are doing extraordinary things. So cheers to all of you out there.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's go to our time travel question. This is always a staple. If we have a podcast question here at the Biz and Tech Studios with producer Josh from Level Up Digital Media, who's an award-winning artist in his own right with his film about oysters. Congratulations on all the success, Josh. What would your time travel location be? Forwards, backwards, hang out with someone, or just go to see the dinosaurs? That we've had every answer you can possibly think of, and I can't wait to hear yours.
So this is, I think I told you, gave you the caveat earlier about prefacing earlier about, where I might take things. So this is a part of me, my spirituality is very big. And when I thought about this question, I was literally in the bathroom and I just had a visual. If I could go back in time, I would go back to when Eve ate that fruit and slap it out of her hand. And so we don't have to deal with sin and live in the world that we live in. So that was the first thing that came to my mind. And then I thought about going forward and just being able to have just a paradise here, how it was intended for us. And just to be able to be happy, be not dealing with war, not dealing with, hunger, starvation, pain, any of the crazy things that the world currently has, have that perfect paradise that we were intended to have. So a little different, but yeah.
Those are outstanding answers.
Thank you.
What are you reading these days?
So honestly, one of the things that always comes in my mind, I am reading the Bible, but needing to read it more because there's always lessons in it. But I'm also reading gardening books, and gardening and herb books. I'm really striving to.
Our garden survived the winter storm.
Oh, did it? And, do you have trees too? Fruit trees?
We have some blueberry bushes and a lemon tree.
Those are the things I'm working on.
Survived.
Those are the things that I'm working on right now, and understanding the soil composition and how you start from the scratch and build it up and composting. So that is my journey. And on the other part, professionally, I'm looking at how do I manage time? How do I navigate this world of professional development and other things in life that can kind of take me to the next level. So whether that's The Secret, whether that's 30 Minutes to Declutter, just really. And I'm always looking for suggestions. I want more to be able to better myself. I don't think that people read enough, and me included. And so I want to make a conscious effort to read more. And make a list of these are the books I want to accomplish, or these are the books I need to go back and read. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This is something I'm thinking about. I need to go back and read this and just kind of get back to the basics so I can take it to the next level.
Yeah, for people that don't read often, I just kind of look at them strange for a minute because I'm like, you never know what you could get out of a book. I was actually reading the acknowledgments from an author 2 nights ago for a book I'd read. It was a sci-fi book, it was just entertainment. But in the final words of the acknowledgement, the author says, reading is a doorway to somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's up to you to determine what that doorway is. And it's also a mirror where you can look back and learn something about yourself that you might not have known from what you just read. And I reread it like 3 times. I'm like, wow, I wasn't ready for a heavy message in these acknowledgments. I was just kind of glancing through it, but what a cool message. And I went to find this guy on Twitter. I was going to say, nice work, because you'd be surprised. A lot of authors communicate on Twitter or other handles because they're not like movie stars or musicians that we might have known, where they're like, fans, I'm too cool. Yeah. They actually engage, or just too much volume, but actually engage a lot. Dan Silva, I've read all his books. He responds to anything I ever put on Twitter. Or maybe his assistant does, but somebody does.
That's all that matters. Okay.
But I love reading, and thanks for sharing that.
And I love what you said about how you reread it, right? It's okay to reread something. And I think a lot of times in this generation, people think that they've done something once and that's it. But sometimes you need to go back and reread it. So that way you can grasp something new and get that new tidbit, or really hone in on, what does this really mean?
Yeah. I was about to earmark it and highlight it. I'm like, all right, I don't need to be that level yet. Next. All right, moving on. Do you have a mentor? Are you mentoring someone?
Okay.
What's your thoughts on mentorship?
I looked this up. I wrote this down. So a mentor, right, is an experienced and trusted advisor.
Right.
And I thought, full disclosure, I have strived to apply for the Access Tallahassee mentor all the time. And they're like, you don't need a mentor, Reenee. And I was like, I feel like I do, right? But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, I don't have per se like that official mentor, right, where you are titled a mentor. But when I started thinking about who in my life that is experienced and that is trusted, automatically I think about my senior director, Trishawn, how I can bounce ideas off of her. I think about my HR, Charlotte Brown, how when I need to know how to be level-headed in that HR perspective, she can give me some advice and it not be cloudy and not be emotional-based. I think about the Cara Palmer Smiths. I think about Eddie Gonzalez-Lumay. I think about Daryl Jones, Marina, Dr. Gabrielle Gabrielli, Talithia. These are all people, even Katrina Tuckerson. These are all people who are experienced and who are trusted leaders that I can call on them anytime, and they'll give me some advice, or they'll let me know the suggestion, or I can bounce something off and know that they will let me know, Reenee, what are you doing? Or Reenee, that's a great idea. Or Reenee, here's a check for Blake included. Here's something for this to support whatever cause you have going on. So when it comes to mentorship, don't just think about the person who's doing exactly what you're doing, right? Look for people that might be outside the norm. Look for people whose backgrounds that you don't know. Think about people who might be a different industry and see how they got to where they are and see if that fits for what you're looking to do in your life. So although I don't have a specific one mentor, I do have mentors in my circle, and I do have people in my circle that I know that I can go to when I need to. And I'm open to being mentors to others because this whole world is tough, right? And it's tough to navigate. So being able to know that you can trust someone, which is hard. It's very hard nowadays, but knowing that you can trust someone and they can give you that guidance because either they've been there, they've learned from those mistakes, they've learned from those challenges, or they've just been successful as a whole, it's something that we all want to look into.
Yeah, you mentioned some heavy hitters there.
Yeah, definitely.
Gabrielle's coming by our office in a couple of weeks. Looking forward to seeing what she has to say. We're going to talk about wellness and stress management.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Like
and if I think of any one mentor, like her name always comes to mind for me because just from day one, she knows my story, she knows my journey. I could not talk to her for months on end. That's one person who I might not always talk to. If I call her today, right now, text her, what do you need, Reenee? How can I help you? Yeah, come by the office. Let's do a brainstorming session. That is what mentorship is. And she embodies that in so many ways. And she's so genuine and so loving to helping with the disabled, to helping just those less fortunate, to helping those who are fortunate, do whatever it may be. She's really there to push you to be the best person that you can be, even when you don't believe in yourself, which a lot of times I didn't. She would, Reenee, no, you can do this. Like, you can balance working a 1.2 million build out at a gym to navigating your personal life to still taking time for yourself. So I'm very thankful. Thank you, Dr. G.
Oh, and Daryl, I remember I was at the chamber conference back when I was an account executive at Aegis, and I really didn't know the community very well. And 20 years later, different perspective, but Daryl was one of those people that just looked at me and I shook his hand and I was like, how's it going? He's like, how are you doing? What are you up to?
He's so genuine.
Made time.
Yeah, he's so genuine.
I mean, no agenda. There was nothing I had that I could offer him, he wasn't looking for anything except,
But he saw the potential in you.
yeah, just to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I've always remembered that. Thank you, Daryl. And Eddie's cool. Eddie knows he's cool, right,
He really
Eddie?
does. But he's
All
so
right.
humble, so he wouldn't admit it. So we just all tell you, Eddie, you're cool.
He made me a plaque when we were in Florida Trend a couple of years ago. This is a nice gesture. Again, he's not a client or anything. He's like, hey, I made this for you. And I was like, what? How cool are you? Awesome.
And look,
Let's talk.
Hold on, sidebar really quick. I didn't mention Myron. You know Myron from ViStar?
Yeah.
Myron is one
He's
of
been
those,
on this show.
Okay, so Myron's one of those people as well that's just like, you can call him at any time, he's going to be there. And he's got a story. I always thought he was, he's had this easy life, but he didn't. And it's great that he shares it and he shows how people that look like him can
his
still.
upbringing on the show.
Perfect. People that look like him can still go on and do amazing things. He's killing it with ViStar right now, crushing it and the growth that he has. So shout out to him as well.
Myron rocks. So sports. You a sports fan?
Yes. First off, go Seminoles. I know you're UF. I know. But go Seminoles all the way.
Hey, it's a local team. It's good for the economy when they're doing
That
good.
is good. That is good. I like
We can
this
agree.
This is a good partner right here. Like some people want to like downplay and talk all the smack. So kudos to you, Blake, for being like above the masses.
Yeah, the rough seasons for the Seminoles could lead to some rougher seasons, especially for like MADSO and the organizations like Matt's business around the stadium. But no hate here. No time for hate.
That works. And then I guess on the professional
go Gators.
side, oh, see, I knew he was going to plug it in. They always do. That's okay, though. That's okay. On the professional side, I do want to mention this, right? Because I love going to NFL games. And there's like that trait where it's like your 5 qualities. I'm a gift giver. And so one thing I always do is I'll get my husband season tickets or either like a 3-pack game tickets for big games or for FSU.
Nice.
And then I will do a surprise NFL game. So past couple of years, we're going out to Baltimore Ravens games in Jacksonville, going to the AFC Championship, going to Houston. Like we just have a ball, and I enjoy. If I'm going to spend some money, I want to spend it on traveling and going to enjoy games like that and eat some good food and get some bomb seats. Like we want the VIP field seats. We want to be on the field in the action kind of thing. So that's always fun.
Have you made it to the Jerry Dome and Cowboys Land yet?
No. Okay. So that I have a friend though that she used to dance for the Mavs, but they have boxes out there. So I'm like, we got to go do a game out there whenever either the Ravens play or at least just go see the Dallas Cowboys play out there. So definitely.
Okay. Awesome. What you watching on TV? Anything amazing?
I don't really watch TV that much.
Cool answer.
Yeah, and so when I do, right, so like this week's spring break, so the kiddo's gone for a little bit, and so I just might binge watch random things that I look on Netflix. If I do any watching, I think most of my watching would be the teasers, like the trailers of things. So my husband comes in and I'm just sitting there watching the reels of like, what is this going to be? Yeah, I will go through all of the Netflix and just click on a picture and see, oh, okay, this looks interesting. Click on this one, this looks interesting. With the kiddo, my stepdaughter, I will watch Abbott Elementary. That's a funny show. I didn't even know how funny it was till recently. And then
I've seen the trailer.
You've seen the trailers? Yeah. So Abbott Elementary is like a show that will let me spend some time with you. We'll have a little fun moment with that. But other than that, I couldn't even think of a show that was like, oh, I'm just always watching. If I hear something, if you know something, let me know. I'm down to watch it.
We watched a show called America Sunday night. Tom Hanks narrates it, and it's a nature exploration by region, and it was the Atlantic region, and it was like raccoons and some insects.
Okay, now that would be something I'd watch. That or Food Channel.
Tom just broke it down, made it very interesting, especially the raccoons, because they moved up to New York, and this raccoon that lived in Central Park with its 2 babies. And what life was like. They must have had that camera there. Josh could probably expand on this. I mean, 24/7 just running.
And so you saw the full life of it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, well, before we wrap up today, let's talk about childhood upbringing. Are you a Tallahasseian?
I'm not. I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida.
Okay.
My mother passed when I was young, and my father, they were separated at the time. He and I are back reconnected now over the years, which has been great. But my grandparents raised me, and, they instilled in me a lot of the morals and values that I'm thankful to have had. And then we as people, though, we make choices along the way, right? So some of the choices might have been the best benefit. Some of them might not have, but at least I, went out and lived and enjoyed life and was like, okay, now what do I do from here? So my grandparents are amazing. My grandfather just recently passed, so that's been a struggle, but it's also been an eye-opener for me to reflect on what his life was like what I've learned over the time, how he's impacted my grandmother. They were married 73 years, or are married 73 years. And that just helps me to look towards the future of like what I want a marriage to look like. How can I be a supportive spouse? How can I be a mom, stepmom to my daughter? But they definitely, they always supported me. I never had a want. I never had to, I want to do that. If I wanted to do it, they always allowed me to be able to do it and gave me the opportunity. So to that, I'm always and forever thankful. And the village around us, my uncles, the community, just helping to be that support to my family was amazing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much.
Any
Blake.
closing thoughts? How can people listening and watching find more about you?
Yeah, definitely. So you can look me up, Reenee Williams-Walter. And anything on CareerSource Capital Region, if you guys need anything, let me know. I will say for all the businesses who are out there, March 20th, we will be doing a Growing Forward Employer Resource Luncheon. This is because we've been dealing with so many disasters over the past, couple months and just random things that have been happening, right? We want to take the time and have business to see what their continuity plan looks like. What does an exit strategy look like? If you were to go through a pandemic again, how will your team navigate? So during that March 20th event, we're going to go over these things. We're going to help these businesses build out what they need. It is of no cost. You can register to sign up. Florida Commerce will be there, Small Business Development Center, SBDC, and of course, JMI, Jim Moran College of Entrepreneurship will be there on site to just connect with these employers and let them know how they can take their business to the next level.
Well, you guys do a tremendous job with events. The event where I was on one of your forums, roundtables, panels, that's the word I was looking for, with Rachel from the Southern Group and Myron from ViStar. And you guys do awesome work in the community. Thank you for that effort. And thank you out there today for listening to the Biz and Tech Podcast. Thank you, Reenee. Thank you again for listening. Also, be on the lookout for IRS-themed emails, texts, all sorts of ways hackers will try to liberate you from your monies and your passwords. Don't fall for it. Don't click. Call your tax professional. You know how hard it is to get the hold of the IRS. They are not calling you. They are not emailing you unless you owe them a lot of money. Then the police will probably just show up. But that's another story. Have an awesome day. I'm Blake Dowling with the Biz and Tech Podcast. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.